Hello, welcome to the Smile with Be Mile show. My show is all about one's passion. I happen to have a very passionate guest by the name of Ty Jackson. Ty, is it true that you came all the way from the Bronx today?
I still have the New York Yankee smell on me as we speak. I literally am hours away from being in the Bronx. So yes, I still smell like bagels and hot dogs and
the
pizza.
Hot pretzels?
Hot pretzels. Oh, the best.
To die for.
To die for.
So, Ty, I feel funny having you on the show because everybody knows you already.
That's so unbelievably not true.
Well, let's make it true because this is on YouTube.
Oh, okay. All right, YouTube. So then, there's millions of people out here who don't know me. Millions. Yeah, at least millions.
So obviously, we have a full crew.
Okay.
That's awesome. That means...
Cracker Jack crew.
Oh,
creme de la creme.
Terrific. And almost entirely Ukrainian crew.
Okay.
So you know how good they are with art. Yes. So... I would like to ask you some questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's almost like a pop quiz.
Ooh, a pop quiz. Yes. I am going to fail big time.
No, you won't because of the books. And how many books have you written? I have
6 books, working on number 7 as we speak.
Wow. When do you find time?
I don't. That's why it takes a long time to create them. I used to, with the books that I've written, I do a lot of the writing overnight. I'll write at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now I just make sure that I allot time throughout the day. Usually maybe between noon and 2 o'clock, I'll do a little bit of writing. In between networking and social media.
A lot of networking.
A lot of networking. 100%.
I personally remember when I was working on North Street as a realtor, I would see you walking down the street. And it was almost like Elvis had arrived.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
No, people were claiming, and look at his smile. I mean, he's such a welcoming, warm person that you want to get to know him. And I asked him to be on this show, and this was the only open date he had. Because tell the viewing audience, why are you back in the Berkshires?
So I'm very fortunate to be working with a number of Berkshire County elementary schools on an entrepreneurial project based on my most recent book titled Make Your Own Money. And that project is called the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair. And the premise of the fair is exactly like a science fair, except substitute science for entrepreneurship. So kids are demonstrating their ideas for a business. And we started it just 4 years ago with 50 students in Pittsfield. And this year, over 5,000 students in 6 different states will participate in the Entrepreneur Fair.
Now, how did you come up with this idea?
During one of my school visits, they were working on a science fair like many other schools across the country. And I just had that light bulb moment where I thought, well, everyone knows what a science fair is. What about the idea of showcasing their entrepreneurial spirit? Because not every kid is going to grow up to be a scientist or even like science. But every kid, every person has an idea for a business. And even if they don't, when you plant the seed that they can start their own business and utilizing their strengths to do so, the light bulb that goes off in their head is amazing, and it aligns with the premise that kids today can make their own money. They don't have to be an adult to make their own money. They can do it now, utilizing their strengths and ideas to create a business. And so the science fair idea just took on a new dimension. And it's been so phenomenal, and I expect the Danny Dollar Entrepreneur Fair to be a household name in 5 years. So mark my words.
Well, it already is.
Well, it's getting there. I don't know about that.
It is, because these books that you've written, there's really no age group. I enjoyed it because we all could learn how to do better with our money.
Absolutely.
And I was embarrassed because I'm going, damn, I could have saved my money and followed your format and had a lot more money, cha-ching. That's one of the expressions you've come up with.
Taglines.
I love it.
Yeah, me too.
So, backpedaling a little bit.
Sure.
Where are you from originally?
Okay. Well, like I said before, I just came from the Bronx, and the reason I came from the Bronx is because that's where I was born and raised. My family is still there, and so I just spent the entire week spending time with my family,
Nice.
and which is really wonderful. And so, yeah, born and raised in the Bronx. I lived in the Bronx from 0 to 35, and then I met my ex-wife at the time in New York. She just happened to be from Pittsfield. And so once we had children and got married and was looking to afford a house, which isn't always easy to do in New York City, we looked to Berkshire County, and then we found a home in Pittsfield. We lived here for 19 years and raised 3 amazing children. And so Pittsfield is not only the place where I used to call home, but in a way still do. It's also the place where I became an author and got the idea to write children's books. And so, Berkshire County as a whole has been so welcoming. Like, I really don't think the success that I've had could be origined anywhere else. Like, there's something about this place that was so receiving and receptive to this work. I would struggle to believe that I could be where I am now, having originated any place else in the country.
Well, your marketing is unbelievable. When did you and how did you form the group of people that you put together so that you had a finished product? I'll never forget the Colonial.
Yeah.
That performance packed, and I was fortunate enough to get almost a front row seat. And the cardboard figures, I mean, it's a lot of work to write the book,
Indeed.
ideate, come up with the concept. But all of a sudden, you've got a team that was so cohesive that you're selling these like hotcakes.
Well, I think we all gravitate towards people that we're inspired by, and I'm fortunate enough to project the type of energy that people fortunately want to be around. And
How's my energy?
how's your energy? I'm here, right? You asked me, and I'm here.
I didn't even have to beg you, did I?
No, not at all. It's an honor and a privilege. But I think that people, I'm very fortunate, one, enough to not only do this work, but love this work and know that this work is of value to so many people. And I think that people are inspired by that and want to harness that type of energy. And so I've been very fortunate that many people have, jumped on this bandwagon and wanted to be a part of directly or indirectly. And I've worked with some amazing people to bring these products to life and showcase them in a way that I can never dream of, including being featured on a large theatrical stage. Like if you'd asked me 100 different directions that these books would have gone into, I would never have thought that 2 of them would become one a play and one a musical. Through Barrington Stage and the Colonial Theater, which I want to make sure I shout out because they just was so
terrific.
exceptional.
Now,
yeah.
I think we should tell people the names of your book.
Oh, sure.
The main character is Danny Dollar.
So Danny Dollar is the brainchild of a simple question from my son when he was 8 years old. He asked if he could open up a lemonade stand. He made $50 selling lemonade. He didn't know what to do with the $50, so I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach him what to do with his $50. I couldn't find one, and so I thought that maybe someone needs to write a children's book teaching kids about money. And I thought about the quote from Gandhi, to be the change you wish to see in the world. So if I wanted to see a book teaching kids about money exist, then the person to write it was me. The name Danny Dollar just popped into my head. I went home, started writing. It took a year to write and another year to publish. And then once the book was born, that New York hustler's mentality came out, and I've sold over 250,000 copies since.
So if someone wants to buy one of the existing books, you have them go to your website feel free to shout that out if you'd like.
So Ty Allan Jackson is my website, and yes, that would be the primary place to be able to go. I think the unique thing about being a children's book author is, or a quote-unquote successful children's book author, is that my books are not in bookstores. Bookstores really very much shunned me when I got started on this path, and I had to find a different way to be able to get these books out into the world. So my focus was less on the traditional way of selling books, which is through bookstores, and more through alignment and collaboration and partnership with the organizations that would find these books of value. So between Boys and Girls Club, YMCAs, United Ways, financial institutions, anything having to do with children or money, and of course schools and school districts, I work directly with them, and those institutions will buy hundreds and in some cases thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of books. And that's the way that I've been able to sustain this career. And so I'm less reliant on book sales through the website. I appreciate every single sale, but the majority of the sales, for example, there's a credit union, a school district in Maryland that just ordered 14,000 copies of Danny Dollar. So wow. So it's kind of hard to replicate that.
Did you say you're taking me to the Ritz today?
That is not what I said. But we can have that discussion. We can have that discussion afterwards.
How does your book differentiate itself from any other children's book? I know it's an entrepreneur goal. But what makes it stand out? We have Irina Bodasova, who writes children's books. I haven't taken a head count, but they're fantastic. So, what's your answer?
I think it's a few different things that differentiate the books. I think one, having a contemporary character of color, I think makes a difference, yet the character does not live within stereotype. So these books are interchangeable. My characters could easily be an Asian girl or a Jewish boy, and I wouldn't have to change anything. And I think that's important.
Are you going to do that?
What's that?
Do United Nations?
No, I have no
aspiration.
No aspirations at all to write a book about a child of color. That doesn't appeal to me, because what you do is you isolate yourself to that specific demographic. And I didn't grow up that way. I grew up as a kid. I didn't see myself as a black kid. Maybe the world did, but I just saw myself as a kid who just was trying to do good in the world. And the world itself then started looking at me as different. But that's not how I saw myself. And so I want these characters to represent every child. I don't want a black child to just feel like this book only speaks to me. I want every child, boy, girl, black, white, rich, poor, to be able to read this work and just enjoy them. Like that to me is the whole premise for me being an author. And I understand for that there are authors who have a mission or want to set a precedent for something, whether it's a political stance or a social stance or whatever. That's not why I write. I write because I want children to smile, and I want every child to smile. I want them to feel good about themselves. But I do take pride that little black kids look at these characters and admire them and appreciate them and see themselves reflected in literature, because the majority of the books in the country are not written for them.
That's what I wanted to comment on. Because I thought when I went to the Colonial and I got your first book, I thought this is terrific, because I don't even know, at that time, did they have dolls of color? How long ago are we talking?
The play, I want to say, came out about 8 years ago. So yeah.
It was sort of. And again, you're not trying just focus, because that would be almost like discrimination in reverse. But I think that brought pride to, I know if I only read books like yours, I'd go, wait a minute, where am I in that book? And that can happen with little children, don't you think? They are looking to connect and feel inclusive.
Relevant and seen and heard. And that's
Exactly. I loved
Yeah.
that because I have a huge family, and I was blessed that we had pink, blue, yellow, brown, black, boas, no boas. And so I never saw differences. And I feel blessed for that. Your books highlighted the fact that there may be a need for that, especially in Pittsfield.
Yeah, it's specifically everywhere, not just Pittsfield.
No, but I mean for our
Sure.
little, small,
Yeah.
comfortable, big
Sure.
hug that we live in.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
And I
Thank
was
you for
hoping you'd
acknowledging.
bring that cardboard figure
Well,
of Danny Dollar.
I would have had to pay for a plane seat for him, and that wasn't going to happen. He's
It's about, I don't know
Yeah,
how
yeah.
tall. But everything, your marketing was unbelievable.
Thank you.
It still is. So is that team still working with you?
Well, you're looking at the marketing team. I mean,
You're it?
yeah. I
You
mean,
wear all hats?
I wear, I am the author, the shipping clerk, the janitor, the
Oh, my
the
God.
marketing agent. I do have a small, amazing team that supports this work. But all the marketing that you see, especially via social media, I do that all on my own.
Oh, my God.
And I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. Am I a genius? I'm a person that really loves what he does. And,
I can see it.
And if you want to apply the genius title for discovering your purpose and allowing that purpose to live within joy and fun and yeah, sure, you can throw that at me. My ego will allow it.
Well, I think there's room, right? in
Oh, there's plenty of room in this
everybody's
ego. Are you kidding me?
Like, I'm going to take
My company's called Big Head Books for a reason.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to
yeah.
ask you about that one day, but
Okay.
not today.
Yeah, another time.
Why is failure good? Not
failure.
that you've had it.
Oh, I've had plenty of failure. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for failure.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's because my initial manuscript was rejected by 147 agents and publishers. When I submitted the same book that I've sold over 250,000 copies of, I submitted it to agents to get published, and I was rejected by 147. And after the 147th rejection, I said, I'm going to figure out how to do this myself. And so,
What was the magic? What was the key to make it actually stick?
just perseverance, just will, just not allowing 147 strangers to dictate my success. Like, I don't even know these people. Why would I allow them to tell me what I can or can't do?
Do you know you did better than Hemingway? He had to 300
Severely doubt that.
No,
but okay.
no, in terms of rejections.
Oh,
350 rejections for Moby Dick.
okay, yeah.
So see,
There you go. Absolutely.
you're already on your
Yeah.
way big time. You keep going.
That's right. Stephen King had his Carrie manuscript thrown in the trash. He threw it in the trash.
Wow.
And then his wife pulled it out and started submitting it. But
That's
no,
amazing.
failure is essential. We learn so much more from the losses than the wins. And if it wasn't for those rejections and failures, I wouldn't have the skill set to publish all of my other work. So I'm grateful for the failure.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of not trying. I'm afraid of more people are afraid of doing the thing. I'm afraid of what happens if I don't. I want to make sure that when my life is over, and it will be over one day, I want to be able to say that I took some shots, I took some chances, I swung for the fences, and maybe I got a single, maybe I got a home run, maybe I struck out. But I swung, and many people will never even get to the plate. Many people defeat themselves before they even believe that they can, and I don't live in that space. So my fear is always not trying, and I don't live in that fear because I always give it a shot. Whether it's relocating to California, whether it's becoming a children's book author with no experience whatsoever. Like, I'm going to do the thing. I have nothing to lose. I'm always going to ask the prettiest girl out. I mean, she may say no.
Sorry,
and in most cases
I'm
has.
taken.
Yes, I know, which is why I haven't asked. And I don't want to get beat up. Your husband's a tough guy.
Yeah, Paul's still a big guy.
Yeah.
What quote or best advice matters to you?
So there's a quote that changed my life, but there's also a mantra that I go by. And I think of the mantra comes a lot from living in New York. And that mantra is that nobody's coming to save you. I mean, there's no one that's going to come. Ed McMahon's not going to bring you $1 million check. You're not hitting the lottery. No one's coming to save you. This life is yours, and you're solely responsible for it. And when you remove the minutia and the excuses of why you can't do something, and you solely put the onus of success on your shoulders, then you hold yourself accountable to make it happen. And it doesn't matter if it's quitting smoking or getting fit or writing children's books. Just remove the BS of excuses and allow yourself to try to win. But also the quote that changed my life when I was deciding on whether or not I could even write children's books, because I had no experience in this field. I came across this quote by industrialist John Shedd, and that quote is, "A ship is safe in harbor, but that's not what ships are for." And when I heard that, it made me realize that each and every one of us are vessels on this planet, and it is our purpose to go out and take risk and seek adventure, and you can't do that by playing it safe. So I take as many chances as are presented to me.
What did you do before you got this light bulb?
I worked previously for a company that's right across the street for Cintas for a number of years as a driver, and I became a driver supervisor, and then I left them and I became an account representative for Allied Waste in Cheshire, which is now Republic Services, who I think does the trash removal. So I was an account representative, so my job was to go around the county and to get commercial businesses to take our trash service. So I guess I was a glorified garbage man. But
I love it. So while you're driving, you had time to think of doing something different.
I did. When I was a sales rep, I thought about the concept and the idea for Danny Dollar, and it's funny because there are a number of my previous clients who I would have this conversation with, like, I got this idea for a book, and I think I'm going to try it, and they were all, every one of them was so encouraging, and just like, we believe in you, we know you can do it. But now that I've done it, like, they reach out to me and will say, man, I remember when you had that conversation with me. And I think many people will say that there's something that they're thinking about doing. But I think very few people will actually take the effort and energy and take risks to bring it to fruition. Okay. And I'm very fortunate that I was raised in an environment that taught me that I am literally capable of doing anything I put my mind to. But it will take effort, energy, and sacrifice. And as long as you're willing to look those things in the eye, then you can do whatever you want to do.
So, with that being said, you are pretty much a one-man show.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, you have a team, but you just
to say
how you do the marketing, you do the writing, you do public speaking. I mean, how many places did you speak while you were in the Berkshires?
Well, I will be speaking at 10 schools this week alone.
Oh my God!
And so I'm very, again, I attribute my connection and love to Berkshire County to this success, if you want to call it that.
You have an amazing vocabulary. Is that why? Drum roll. Tell the folks what you received from MCLA.
I could not have been more fortunate, and I have to preface it by saying I never went to college, and so I attribute my vocabulary to reading. Like reading is just something that I've done. My mother introduced to me as an early age. It's the earliest form of entertainment that I can remember. Not TV, not movies, books were the things that I remember as a kid being most in love with. And that assisted me in developing my own vocabulary, despite not having to go into college. But with that being said, I had the ridiculous privilege 5 years ago to receive an honorary doctorate for my work from MCLA. So it's a dream I didn't even know I could have. So you can call me Dr. Jackson if you want to. I won't take offense.
Okay, Doc.
I like it. Let's go. Let's do it.
So, would you read something from one of your books?
Sure, I would be happy to do that. So,
because I think the viewing audience is going, hey.
So I'm going to ask you to pass me the book, the first one there. Yep. It's my most recent book. It's titled Make Your Own Money. And So I'm going to read, because this book is about teaching kids how they literally can make their own money. And it's a blueprint to teach kids, how do you earn money? And once you earn it, what do you do with it? You know, how do you save it? How do you spend it? But I think it's all within an entrepreneurial mindset. That's where this book is really about. It's less about teaching kids about how to make money and more about finding the energy and value within themselves to become the best versions of themselves. And then utilizing that as a way to create a career and find a purpose. So my favorite chapter in the book is titled "To Dream Big," and it's the last chapter. And I love this chapter because it really does talk about how kids can develop an entrepreneurial mindset. So I'm going to read chapter 5 of "Make Your Own Money" by Allan Jackson, and it's chapter 5, "Dream Big." Here we go. When I was getting started on my dream of becoming the world's greatest lemonade stand entrepreneur, or at least on my street, I have to admit I doubted myself. And then I thought about some of my heroes. Steve Jobs, who created Apple computers, Oprah Winfrey, maybe the most important person in entertainment, and Barack Obama, the first black president. I had to remind myself that they were all kids once too. And I bet they had dreams of being great just like I do. Just like you do. Think about it. At one point, Steve Jobs didn't know anything about computers, but he worked hard and dreamed big. At one point, Oprah Winfrey didn't know anything about the media industry, but she worked hard and she dreamed big. And at one point, Barack Obama didn't know anything about leadership, but he worked hard and he dreamed big. Kids like you and me can accomplish the most amazing things, and it all starts by dreaming big and knowing that you can do anything. So, yeah, no, not bad, right?
It's terrific.
Not bad for a kid from the Bronx.
It's terrific.
Yeah.
Do you know, I had a flashback. Ty was one of my first guests on the Smile with B-Mile show. And I was dreaming big that you'd come back. And here you are.
And here I am.
Here you are.
And all it took was breakfast.
Magic.
Yeah.
But that was terrific. And having read this one from beginning to end in one sitting.
That's wonderful and impressive.
And I have dyslexia, so I was really into it. But when you go and speak at the schools, is it K through 12 that you're speaking? Do they all gather in the auditorium?
Yeah, no, that would be anarchy to have the kindergartners and high school seniors in the same room. Like,
well, all the schools are merging. No,
I don't think anyone is ready for that level of crazy.
What is the age group that you would read to?
So the answer is there is no age group that I won't speak to. I'm very fortunate that my purpose in life isn't to write children's books. It's to help people become the best versions of themselves through literature. So I have a presentation that's made specifically for K1 and 2. I have another presentation that's made specifically for late elementary school, 3 through 5, and then I have a presentation for middle. I have a presentation for high. So and it all varies. I like to think that they're all about joy and empowerment. They're all humorous in some way, because if you're going to empower kids, you better be funny.
You are funny. There's some great scenes.
There are some great laughs in the book. But I'm very fortunate that I've had the opportunity not only to speak at schools. I've done work at Berkshire County House of Corrections. I've done work at all the colleges in the community. I just did last week a presentation, or rather a keynote, to 100 plus high schoolers from every high school here in Berkshire County at BCC. And so I've had the great fortune to be able to literally speak around the county and around the country about the power and the importance of reading, because I'm proof positive that it is, it's arguably outside of love, the most important gift that we can give our children is giving them the tools of literacy, of letting them learn how to communicate through prose, learn how to read, learn how to write. It is the cornerstone of learning, and once you are a great learner, you have the tools and the ability to become a great anything.
Well, you know that public speaking is the #1 fear of people.
Yeah.
How was that? Did you take Dale Carnegie? I mean, how did you get comfortable with that?
There's a few ways. One, again, being born and raised in the Bronx, you kind of have this innate need to be strong and proud. Like it's a place of survival, so to speak. So you kind of have to kind of be bold and strong and somewhat extroverted to kind of thrive there. When I was in my early 20s, I took a stand-up comedy class just to kind of get out of my shell and just to do something a little different. And that was really influential. I've always loved stand-up comedy and would watch the way that a Richard Pryor or a George Carlin or an Eddie Murphy would command the stage. And then also and then TED Talks. I love the idea of TED and seeing these people from every walk of life in any industry give their insight and perspective. And I was always fascinated by that. And so like you take those mishmash things and I just learned a little bit from them. I like to think that if Dr. Seuss, Tony Robbins, and Kevin Hart had a love child, it would be me. So
that would be interesting.
It is interesting. Here it is. It's right here in the flesh.
You could write another book about that.
I don't know.
I think
maybe
I'd wait
so.
on that.
Yeah.
So you have an agent.
Well, I am the agent.
Well, this is what I'm saying. So you told Paul and I.
Okay.
I'm going to throw it at our house because we're that tight.
Oh, well, of course.
Oh, yeah, that you're moving to Jacksonville, and your name is
I'm actually moving to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh,
now, I've done work in Jacksonville. I've done a lot of work in Jacksonville.
You're going to be booked there.
But I'm going to Fort Lauderdale, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so it's really cool that your name is Ty Jackson, and you will go there because the educational level is probably one of the lowest.
Yeah.
Is that what you target? I mean, you feel I need to go where they really need motivation.
I don't necessarily look at it that way. Honestly, it's been happenstance. I live in Fresno, California now. Fresno happens to be the number 7th most illiterate city in the country, and I went there not knowing that. Jacksonville is actually top 10 on that list as well. So, and I've done a lot of work in Jacksonville, working with the city of Jacksonville and some other organizations to promote the importance of reading and literacy. I don't think I necessarily go where I am needed. I think, honestly, it's just been coincidence and happenstance, which is very fortunate for me. But more importantly, I get the opportunity to travel wherever I'm needed. I've done some work in Mississippi, which is probably the most impoverished state in the country. And I've been to more places than not, and a lot of it is a tribute to the need for inspiring kids in a way that's fun and creative, and speaks up to them, which I think is something that we need to do better as parents. It's easier to teach a 5-year-old how to play piano than it is to teach a 25-year-old how to play piano.
Tiger Woods.
Or a Tiger Woods.
2 years old.
Another great example.
When he started?
So part of what I do is talking to children about the importance of reading, but also talking to parents about how we can uplift our children through love, through literacy, and I couldn't be more thrilled to have this as a purpose.
With these things, though?
What about those things?
In other words, can your books be read here? Because we're all glued to this.
Sure.
It's an extension of our hand now.
Yeah.
So if a child has a choice to pick up a book or to play a game, how do you convert them? Well,
you don't. It's not about conversion. I think it's about living an and life and not an or life. This is not about telling a child you can play video games or read a book. It's you can play video games and read a book. And have, hopefully, the parents cut out time to carve out time 100%. To sit with them. But I think it's got to be harder now. Don't you think? I don't think it's harder. I just think it's different. I mean, back in the 50s and 60s, people thought rock and roll was going to destroy the world, and it didn't. And then in the 80s and 90s, hip hop was going to be the end of society, and it wasn't. And now the internet is going to destroy us all, and Y2K, and how did that work out? I think we live in a society where the media pushes fear to navigate us in a more passive way. And but history proves that that almost never happens. And so
we survive. We're survivors.
that's what we do. We evolve, and and we utilize the tools for what they are. So if a child wants to read on an iPad or a phone, absolutely let them. I mean, it's the direction. Why? And I am pro book. Like I want a physical book in my hand. But I also want to speak the language of whom I'm engaging with. And if they're better suited to read for 15 minutes on an iPad and then play on their video games after they're done, I'm about that life. Why would I not speak the language of today's youth and children? So I think we as parents need to do a better job of evolving and speaking the language that our children are speaking.
So what happens when you have a single parent? Can they be that ideal parent to do everything, work,
That is way above my pay grade. I'm not a sociologist, definitely. But you know what? I had a single mom who raised 2 kids by herself and got a college degree while simultaneously raising 2 kids. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. But I'm in no position to be able to tell anyone, especially a single parent, what it is that they need to do to be able to raise stronger, thriving children. But I will say this, and I said it already, outside of love, promoting the importance of reading, I think, is the most important gift we can do. And the more that we can make reading part of our family culture, I think the more that success that a family is going to have.
I agree. We have to go backwards. And ice skate and roller skate.
Oh yeah, I keep roller skates in the back of my car, so I'm not even kidding. Where I might just have an impromptu, get out and go roller skating.
And
plus, I'm in California now. That's kind of a vibe.
Oh, you gotta.
Yeah, you gotta. That and avocado toast.
Yeah, I love it. So, what is your ultimate career goal?
Oh, what is my ultimate career goal? I would love, very much like Danny Dollar and the Super Duper Kid were adapted into musicals and theatrical plays. I would love to see this platform grow. Financial literacy is so important for our kids to know. And I'm not dismissing traditional academic education, but I've never needed to know who the 17th president of the United States was. It's never come up, but taxes does. Learning what a mortgage is, interest, debt, credit cards. These are things that are primarily not taught in schools, yet impact not only our family, ourselves and our family, but our society as a whole. And so I would love for this platform of Danny Dollar to expand in a television show or some type of outlet where it's able to be promoted in the masses in a fun.
Excuse me, Smile with Be Mild television show.
Okay. Let's get this contract signed and figure out how.
Off your list.
100%.
You're all done.
So I'm working on that now and developing a larger scale platform for this character to kind of be the what was the bear, the firefighter, the Smokey the Bear, who was synonymous with protecting the forest. I want Danny Dollar to be synonymous with empowering kids about financial literacy and entrepreneurship.
Were you the procuring cause for the lemonade stands throughout Pittsfield when that came about?
Of course I was. Yeah. Are you kidding?
I thought so, because the mayor, Tyre, at the time, was in the audience. And, by the way, I had her listing. I'll just throw that in.
That's funny. Good for you. That's right. Plug it all.
So I asked her that, and she said, oh, I already thought of that sitting in the audience at the Colonial.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it was like it was put into action. What you are promoting, kids were setting up stands. I mean, I get excited thinking about the impact that you had here in the Berkshires, and then all of those cement painted. It's like you brought life and excitement to the kids, that they could take ownership like you preach in these books nicely.
Thank you.
I love I was going to pick apart to read, but I love some of the graphics say it all. So it's a really easy read, and it was embarrassing to me that I didn't know some of these, and I have a degree in business management. And I'm going, well, maybe I knew them, but I didn't want to know them because it's easier to have instant gratification
Sure.
than to have a plan.
Sure.
So I just love these books. And there's a common thread, obviously, throughout all of the books because that is the thing. To teach people how to save and not depend on the parents' allowance and the pride that comes with saying, I earned this.
I earned this. I can do this.
I love that because a lot of kids, they don't have the energy and dream. You provide it. When they read this, I got excited and I thought, ice cream stand.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, we all grew up idolizing and wanting to be somebody. If you ask the average everyday kid, they want to be Taylor Swift or Tiger Woods or LeBron James. They get to see these artists perform. They're role models. But there isn't a financial literacy role model for kids. So they see this character, and it's another reason why it's important for this character to speak broader and not just represent one specific demographic. He should speak to all children because all children, have these aspirations of being great one day. And so when they see this character who believes in himself and has a vision to be successful in his own way and is taking action to make that happen, it makes kids say, I can do that. I have an idea for a business. I have things that I could do to make money or at least start thinking about what my future could look like. And so having this character as a role model is paramount to the way that we all live and love. You as a kid idolized somebody when you were a kid. I idolized Mickey Rivers as center fielder for the New York Yankees. That was my idol. And because of that, I played center field in Little League and in high school. Because of that, that's the person that I idolized. And so I took that path. Unlucky for me, everybody in high school got bigger and taller and I stayed the same height. So my baseball career was very short-lived. But it goes to the point that, and especially with social media today and how so many people are so relevant, every kid now wants to be a YouTuber or an influencer because they see these people and they see what they're capable of doing. And if they can harness that type of energy to want to influence someone with the skill set of a Danny Dollar to be able to create an idea of a business, then I think you have a really powerful, method for kids to be our future CEOs, our future government officials, our future community leaders.
Do you know what I wanted to be when I was a little girl?
Please, I need to know.
Well, first of all, sales.
Okay.
Which I'm selling.
Pretty all right at.
Well, I would go up in the attic and use Monopoly money and sell all my parents' stuff out of the head.
Wow.
No, it wasn't that good, actually, when they needed their suitcase.
I'm sure.
But I knew I wanted to take this item, sell it to this neighbor's kid, and it was fun. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
I love that. Now, that expression, cha-ching, runs throughout these books, and it's memorable. So I can picture the kids after you leave. Do you want to demonstrate to us how you open up when you're performing to a class or auditorium, however?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll be the kids.
Okay, so what I usually do is that I open with a little joke. I showcase one of my, an illustration of me with my gray beard and my glasses, and I open up with the joke of that my illustrator created an image that looks like an old M&M with glasses. And and that always gets a good laugh, just like it got out of you. And then I go into a little presentation called The 5 Reasons Why You Need to Read. And it's a very comedic presentation. The 5 reasons why kids need to read are intelligence, imagination, confidence, and entertainment. But the 5th one is the one that closes the house down. And the 5th reason why kids need to read is because if they become a reader, they will never, ever have to do another chore. Because I tell them that if they use it right, and the next time that their parent says, I need you to do the dishes, if you tell your parent, but Mom, I'm reading a book, the parent's going to be so happy that you're reading that they'll do the dishes for you.
Perfect. It hasn't worked with Paul, though.
Oh.
My husband,
Well.
In fact, I did when I was reading this. That's when he carried the vacuum cleaner up for me to vacuum.
Funny. Okay. Oh.
That didn't work out so good.
Gotcha.
But reading allows you to escape reality.
Of course.
And decide who you want to be, like you say. Did you read a lot in terms of the Yankees and?
Oh.
Do you know everything about the Yankees?
Oh no, my level of retention isn't that great. But I will say 2 things about reading. Is one, as a kid in the Bronx, my grandfather made sure that the 3rd word I knew how to say was mama, or dada was always first.
Oh.
And then mama, and then Yankee. Like the Yankee was, he made sure that Yankee was the 3rd thing that I could say.
How many hats do you have and T-shirts?
I buy a new one every year, so I only have one, but I buy a new one every year. And in fact, I'm going to Yankee Stadium tomorrow, actually, after my presentation.
Oh, that's true.
To see the Yankees beat up on the Cleveland
Do
Guardians.
you travel lightly? I mean, how many suitcases?
I only have one suitcase. I'm not that bad. I'm not horrible. But that, when I'm on the plane, I'm wondering, or getting into the airport, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to exceed the 50-pound mark. I only bring in one bag. The question is, how heavy is it? We're going to play suitcase roulette here and see how heavy it's going to be. But I want to add one other thing about reading that I think is important that a lot of people miss, is that besides it being escapism and entertainment, what reading does greater than any other platform in the world is that it allows you to have a one-on-one conversation with the greatest minds who have ever lived.
Right.
So if I want to have a conversation with Steve Jobs or Martin Luther King or Madame Curie or Florence Nightingale, I can do that today within the pages of a book, and they can tell me everything that they've ever known in such detail, more so than any podcast, more so than any television interview, more than any other form of entertainment. If I want to know today how Muhammad Ali became the greatest fighter of all time, he can tell me in his own words through the pages of a book.
That's right.
And there's no other platform where that exists.
Now, having talked to Paul,
sure,
who was my last guest, which was fun, he reads philosophers.
Oh, boy.
He said, I want to start at the highest level and then go to the fiction, which he loves.
Okay.
But he's such a prolific reader that he read this.
Okay.
Because
I'm sure he was incredibly underwhelmed.
Oh, no. Au contraire.
Okay.
No, he loved it. And having met you, because I knew you, but he did not, he said, this is terrific. And remember, he at Central Berkshire picked the curriculum. Had this existed, this would have been right on the list for kids to read. But I think the fact that you present and you're a inspirational speaker is what differentiates this from a book on a shelf.
Well, thank you.
I
think it's the message and the messenger. I think, and especially because children today, like I mentioned before, they want to be the next LeBron James and the next Taylor Swift. The problem with reading, I should say the problem with the publishing world, is that the publishing world does an awful job of promoting its stars. Its true stars are the authors. Where if J.K. Rowling's walked in here right now, the majority of the people wouldn't know who she was. Very few people know the authors that they love. And so it's very important for kids to be able to see the author.
Exactly.
And if the author can inspire them or make them feel good or make them laugh, now there's this bonded connection that happens between reader or even potential reader and author. I can't countless children who told me that they hated reading until they saw my presentations, but because the bond and connection I made with them, we had this now kinship, and they're like, and now they're like, maybe I could be an author too. Maybe I could write, or learn to read. And so it's important to connect and build a relationship with kids. That really is my primary purpose. I love these books, but they are really the vessel to do the thing that I love the most, and that is engage with children.
So you've already written all of these books.
Uh-huh.
So with everything you're doing to present them, where's the energy coming from to write the next one? You said the minute you came in, I'm working on the next. So you have a gift that a lot of people don't. It's like energy. Do you drink those energy
No,
drinks?
I don't drink the energy drinks. No,
So,
I don't even drink coffee. I've never even tried coffee.
You drink tea, though?
I drink tea, yeah.
Yes.
But no, the energy comes from the kids. And the desire to write comes from them as well, because when they finish the Super Duper Kid Part 2, they ask when Part 3 is coming out.
Well,
and I don't want to let them
came
down.
up
So, and the energy also comes from just being happy, just
Loving
loving life.
what you're doing.
I just love,
So
I
have
love
you
what
ever
I do.
been stopped at an airport?
I was once. Believe me, I am not on the level yet of being stopped regularly.
Spike Lee?
But yeah, no, that's absolutely not happening. But at Albany Airport, I did have a teacher, a woman, come up to me and says, are you Ty Allan Jackson? And and she's like, you came to my school a couple of years ago, and my kids have never forgotten you. So I've had the pleasure of being stopped once. But it does happen in Pittsfield quite often, much to my children's chagrin, because they just know, one, their daddy loves to talk, and my head also gets a little bigger with every compliment.
Well, isn't this Big Heads production?
That's what I'm saying.
I love that.
That's what I'm saying.
That is so cool. So, are your children living in the Berkshires?
Yeah, my two youngest ones still live here in Pittsfield, and my oldest lives in central Connecticut. So they're still all here in the Northeast.
And didn't two of them just graduate?
Well, my youngest just
okay.
graduated from Siena College just a couple of weeks ago.
So you had better make money to
You're
pay
not
for
kidding. I got to
college.
sell some books. Where's the camera? We're America. YouTube. I got kids. I'm still paying for this college tuition. We got books we need to sell. Let's go.
We're walking on the edge of almost the show being over.
Okay. We'll see how fast it goes.
Did I miss anything of great import you wanted to talk about?
I think I said the majority of the things that I think are important. And I think the most important thing, and I emphasize this to parents, is that we have to do a better job of talking up to our kids.
I agree.
We don't speak their language. We don't don't get down on their level. Let them reach yours. Let them. They're beautiful, open sponges.
They're beautiful.
And they will receive whatever you give them, good or bad. And so fill them with as much love and compassion and empathy and literacy and books as you can. And there's no other tool that you're going to gift them that is going to empower them for the rest of their lives.
You're absolutely right.
Outside of love
Sharing
and the
knowledge
gift of literacy.
and love. I want to take this opportunity not only to give you a big thank you, but we have the most incredible crew on today.
100%.
And one I just dragged off the street because she heard you were the guest.
Oh my.
Isn't that nice?
That's very nice.
And then, of course, Eugene, Irina, and we have Erica, and all these, by the way, and Jesse's the one I dragged up. The street. are incredible people and readers and artists. So all of us appreciate you giving this time.
Oh.
I know that you're on a fast pace. So thank you again for being on the Smile with B. Miles show.
It is my pleasure.
And
my
I
friend.
hope to see you on with your handprint in Hollywood. When is it?
Is it hands or feet, or is it both?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's hands.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But I want free tickets.
I want that too. So
You're you're thinking it, right?
Yeah, it's inevitable.
happening.
That's right.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the Smile with B. Miles show. Today's guest, Ty Jackson, and Big Head Books. Terrific. Thank you.